All right, welcome everybody. We'll go ahead and kick it off. See a few more people still trickling into the waiting room, but this is recorded, so they can always catch up if they missed anything. Welcome everybody. My name is Dimitri. I'm joined by my fellow colleague, Altamash.
Hey.
Who's been really instrumental in working through our August release with the team. Today's our training on that August release, as we kind of do every month. So we're going to go over some really cool features today, and really in light of our quest towards student success. Many of you have been following us on our quest on physical wellness. So one of the things we had been working on was Contact Trace Plus enablement entitlement that allows institutions to bring students back to campus in a safe way. We're continuing kind of that foray into student health, but now really focus on mental health. And you're going to see that as part of our mental health entitlements that we're releasing soon. And the features today really are encapsulated under our health and wellness entitlement. So that's a premium add-on that you can purchase if you're interested. Talk to your customer success consultant if that's something you're interested in, or if you already have it, this is going to be a great place for you to learn about some of the features that are coming down the pipeline towards your campus cloud and app very soon. So like we said, we really focus on this on health and wellness across the student profile. We started with physical health and contact trace, and now we're going to be talking a little bit more about scaling those interventions through workflows and automated sequences, which Altomas is really going to dig into today. We'll hit two different features, specifically workflows overview, so how you can build workflows as part of sequences, and then the contact trace API overview. How do you get some of that great content and data from contact trace in and out of the Ready platform? So without further ado, we're going to jump into workflows. Altamash will take it from here, and he'll walk us through workflows.
Thanks, Dimitri. Yeah, so workflows is a new functionality that we've built. This is the first iteration of it, and it's basically the core technology that we're going to continuously add on and support. And the idea is we don't want, there's a lot of workflows that we have on campus that are repetitive, that happen all the time. And it's just making all those workflows and the steps within those workflows streamlined to enable student communication to be more, effective, and effectiveness in the terms of speed. And we're using this by automating all our workflows. So we're going to be automating them. The efficiencies increase, students get information faster. Administrators don't have to, manually send stuff. And this is what workflows is going to allow us to do. And we're going to cover the initial items that we built so far, which is support for manual based workflows, scheduling, form completion based workflows. And we also have, summary reports where you can track your progress, and you can also see logs that if, there's errors or if there's successes, you can go back and see all the detailed history of the logs and the entries that your workflow has. Let me share my screen, Dimitri. I think Dimitri's screen is frozen. So Elizabeth, can you make me the host or remove Dimitri's screen sharing so I can share my screen? Yeah, I think he's having internet issues. Perfect. Perfect. So let's get right into it. So the first thing in order to enable workflows would be permissions. So if you're a super admin on Campus Cloud, you will already have access to it. But if you want to give any other administrator or any other colleague access to it, you would need to go to team settings. You would need to search and find the individual that you want to give them access to, or if you're creating a new team member, you would have to go down and there's a new permission added for workflows. You can enable it, send them the invite, or you can edit their existing permissions and you can enable it here, and you will have access to workflows. So where can you find workflows? You'll find workflows in Manage. So below Studio at the top, you will be able to see workflows. So sorry, I'll minimize this. So what actually is a workflow? A workflow is a process that allows us to take, at least for now, and how we define it is a process or a sequence or a series of steps that we take in order to communicate information and deliver information to students. So a workflow is you can consider it like the high level steps, the combination of the steps that we use to communicate and deliver information to students. And we can create an example over here, such as key academic dates, just as our sample workflow over here. Within workflows, you'll be able to create many sequences. We'll use our use case demo over here. We've already created some sequences. These are the steps that we can create that allow us to complete our workflow. So we can create up to 5 steps right now, and we want to get more feedback once customers use it, so we can expand upon this more and see what's the ideal limit to support for a number of steps. But right now it's up to 5, and you'll be able to create within one workflow 5 steps to complete that workflow. These steps don't have to be connected to each other. These steps can be very, very different. And as I outline what you can do, this will become more clear. So what we call those steps is sequences, the steps or sequences needed to complete the workflow. So let's get right into it and see the different types of sequences that we can create. So we can give our sequence a title. Let's call this vaccination form next steps. We can add a description, so anyone that comes and reviewing this can see the description and details around this vaccination form. So in this case, it would be next, if a student does not pass the vaccination form, they will receive these next steps. So over here, we can add a detailed description and give a name to our sequence that we've created. The initial, so a sequence has what we call a trigger and an action. A trigger is just a starting action, a starting step, the initial step that we're going to be using. And then based on that step, there's an action that happens. So we have 3 triggers: manual, scheduled, and form completion. And I'll go through each of these and explain what each of these can do. Manual is basically a manual trigger. There's no automation around this. This is basically something that you can create, and you can attach an action to it, and then you can run it on your own anytime you want. So for example, if on the community, you see students asking, recurring questions. And as we can see, in the community, a student is asking recurring, similar questions are recurring many times. We can just create this a manual sequence. For example, information around which office do I go to find information about, financial aid support. It's a frequent question that gets asked during, let's say, the orientation period. We can create a manual trigger. We can create post in channel. We can add a specific message to it. And the message can be, you need to go to XYZ location, or contact XYZ, or contact us at this phone number, so we can provide you with next details. And then you can, instead of typing the message over and over again, you can just manually, just with one button, trigger it, and it automatically gets posted on the channel. So this is an example of a manual trigger and what manual triggers can do. It depends on the administrator running it manually. The next type of trigger we have is scheduling. Scheduling allows us to schedule information in the future to students. And it's just as if you've used any other scheduling system or any other calendar that supports scheduling system. It works very similar. You can select a day and you can select a time. Let's select August 12th. You can select a repeat function. Does it repeat daily? Does it repeat weekly? And on which days? Or does it repeat every month? You can schedule information and you can post that information in a community channel or send a push notification. For example, if you have athlete students who need to submit their vaccination who need to submit, let's say, their testing forms in this case, and they need to submit them, and they need to submit them, let's say, every before they come to the training session. You can schedule it at a time before training starts, or just send them a reminder, let's say a few hours before, hey, complete your testing form, and you can send that as a direct push notification. You can select a specific host, let's say athletes 1. You can select the audience that you have. In this case, this is let's assume this is the athletes audience, and you can write the subject and message informing them, hey, make sure you complete your testing form before you come on campus. The last type of form completion, the last type of trigger is form completion. This is when a form is completed and we want to take actions based on that form. So for example, we have a vaccination form, and a vaccination form that's been completed by any student, all students, and we only want to look at non-vaccinated student that failed, and it's addressing our title and our description from this use case. What we can do is we can send them a direct message that if a student that completed a form, any student, or we can select only athlete students, international students, however we want to define our audience, and if they were not vaccinated, we want to send them a personalized message informing them of direct next steps that they need to take so they can get vaccinated and resubmit us the form. So these are the 3 types of triggers that we support and the actions that are corresponding to this. Any questions about this before I go into showing some of the examples and the demo use cases that we have created?
There's a question here. Yep, from Sean.
Dimitri, you're having a lot of echo. I'll take the question. So Sean asks, if I don't see workflows, does that mean we don't have that access? I'm the system admin of our RE app. If you have purchased the Mental Health Plus or Health and Wellness Plus entitlement, you will have access to this. Right now, it is currently pending deployment. We're expecting to release it either today or on Monday. So if you have purchased the entitlement, you will have access to it by end of day today or early Monday morning. If you have not purchased it, you should reach out to your campus success consultant for next steps around this, Sean. Will anything you are showing be available in the basic base platform? No, so Terry asked this question. Today, we will not be showing anything part of the basic base platform. Everything is part of either our Mental Health Plus or Contact Trace Plus entitlements, as mentioned by Dimitri at the beginning. Perfect. Let's look at some of our use cases that we've created. So we can come over here, we can edit our workflow, we can change the name, or we can delete it. In this case, I'm going to delete it. We have a confirmation box, because if we delete it, we will lose all our sequences and all the data supporting it as well. So I've set up 3 use cases from some of our customers. So let's go through them one by one. Let's start with the first one, which is manual. So we can deactivate and activate our sequence. When we create a new sequence, it is by default deactivated, meaning it is not running. So we need to activate it and confirm that we want it to start and be active and running, but we can also deactivate any time. So again, we don't have to delete it. It's just not running anymore. We can just leave it there. And if you want it to run back again, and this is useful for, we have sequences that are only relevant for specific time periods on the run, for specific time periods in the year, we can deactivate them and reactivate them again. We can edit them and we can delete them. Let's edit the sequence and see what the sequence is. So it's a manual sequence. It's by student financial support, and it's a post in channel. So it's going to create a post in channel, and the message says that reminder, last day for, it's a reminder that last day for financial aid support is August 31st. If you have not completed your forms so far or the information, here's the link, and it supports links currently. If you require further support, reach out to us at this specific phone number. Let's save this. Let's go back to, let's save this here. Oops. So let's edit this, edited message. I will come back to this piece in a bit. And let's run our sequence over here and see what happens. This is a manual sequence, so we manually have to run this. So we've run this, we ran the sequence. Now we're going to go to the community. We're going to go to the student feed, and we're at the student feed, and we see this message over here from student financial support, the exact message that we created, it's been added over here. We don't have to come and add this message every single time. And it's the same thing if you do scheduling, you can just schedule information or announcements in advance for students right directly over here as well. So for example, if there's key academic dates, hey, don't forget, you know, that today is the last day for financial aid, today is the last day for, you know, enrolling in classes, you can schedule all of those in advance as well using our scheduled based workflows. But this was a manually run one, so this is how it would look like. Let's go back to workflows. And let's look at our scheduled workflows for chapel services. Or before we look at that, let's look at some of the data points and see what else we can do. So this is the editor view. We can edit our workflows and make changes to it. So we can, let's say if you want to change the channel, we can go in and change it to a different channel. We can add new actions to it. We can add multiple actions to it. So if you want to send it to multiple channels, we can do that, or we can send notifications as well to specific audiences. Like we know a specific set of users has not, you know, filled out their information. We can directly send this message to them as well and manually run it. Outside of this, we have a summary page. The summary page shows us, you know, how many successfully completed and how many failed sequences that were ran were. And what that means is we can select our date range, and we can see on July 28th, we ran the sequence. It was completed one, and there was an error one time. On July 30th, we completed it 3 times, and 4 times successfully was 3 times, and there was an error 1 time. And I'll explain what the error means in a bit. And today we completed 4 times, all 4 times for success. So we can see basically the historical data in a graph view of how many of our sequences successfully went through and how many didn't. Because all of this is information delivery based and like we're communicating to students, there could be a lot of errors that happen. That could happen at runtime, for example. You sent a push notification and something happened within our system that didn't allow the push notification to go through, or something happened during the creation process that caused an error. But what you can see over here is all of that is tracked and all of that is logged, and you'll know exactly what's happening as well. And I'll explain that in the history page. We also have a change log of edits and changes. Since you can change and make edit and make changes to your sequence at any time, you can, as you saw before, that when I made the last change, I had this pop-up box and I said I would explain later. That's where you have to write basically what the actual change you made was. This is a change log. After I make specific changes in the editor view, I have to specify what I did. Over here, I created the sequence. Over here, I edited the message. And you can see what that message here is as well. That should be live in a couple of weeks. We're still adding more feature sets and enhancements to this. The last item is history, as I explained before, where you can, in the summary view, you see the success and errors. You can actually see the detailed history of those, and you can select it by time and type. So we can see all our success messages, who was the person that triggered this manual trigger, and all the errors and what the error was. In this case, when we tried to run it manually, it failed to post in channel. So something happened within our system that didn't allow it to post in the channel specifically. That could be our servers were down or any other related information, but you have the context you need, that it's not something on your side that caused it to happen, meaning it's something more on our side that caused it to happen. So it's more clarity and granularity in terms of when these errors are happening.
Well, Tomasz, is it possible if, for example, you're looking to post to a channel and then the channel is deleted, let's say it's a custom created channel, would that cause an error?
Yeah, so you will not, so we have some restrictions around this. So, you know, in order for this to work properly, you can't delete and make changes such as those right now. So what we've had is like, basically, if you come in here, let's just look at this manual one where the host is student financial support. You cannot remove this host from the channel itself because you'll get an error and it will tell you that, hey, this is tied to a workflow, and the individual creating the workflow might not be the same person who is like managing the specific host. So, we've restricted that. You won't be able to remove this host, but if you delete the channel, you will get an error message telling you that the channel has been deleted. And it's the same thing if you, let's say, try to, so those are the two use cases. Yeah.
Nice. And I noticed here there's an add action button. I'm not sure if you had mentioned already, but
yeah.
Is it possible to add further actions?
Yes, you can post this in, for example, multiple channels. Another enhancement we're most likely going to explore is being able to multi-select, so you don't have to like create different ones. Outside of that, you can send a push notification as well. I know students that say, I just want to send a reminder to students in student feed, but I also know that these students have not filled it out. I can create an audience for them quickly, select that audience, for example. We'll just call it audience 1. I can select the host. In this case, it's student financial services, right? Student financial services. Yeah, financial support. And then we can create the subject and message, and the subject and message can be different for both. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, let's look at our second use case that we have, which is for chapel services. We have a lot of schools that require students to attend chapel services once or twice a week, and it's part of their graduation requirements. So it's mandatory for students to attend this. So what we can do here is we can set up recurring reminders for students. So we've set it up starting August 9th at 8:45 a.m. And it's Monday, Wednesday, Fridays when we have chapel services. So it's, let's say, 15 minutes before, but we can change it to half an hour before. And we want to send a notification to all students. In this case, we want to send it to all students. And we want to just send a reminder, please join us for chapel services at location, and services will begin in 30 minutes, and any other information that we want to add. In this case, we've added that it's required for students to attend at least one session per week to meet their requirements. And we can save this and we can run this service and it would send them a reminder. We can do the same thing for, let's say, reminders for academic calendar dates. One thing that we're going to be actively adding in the coming month or so is being able to decide a cutoff time. Right now, all we have is, this is basically once you set it, this timeline is, it's going to happen every single week, but there's no way to decide, at what point should we end this. So we're going to be enhancing this further. So you can actually decide when you want the start time to be and when you want the end time to be as well. And then that way, when you're building your academic dates, you can specify them and be very granular as well with those. So that's another thing we're looking to add, but scheduling allows you to schedule information in advance. Last piece is form completion. In this case, we have a vaccination form for audience 1. This audience is athlete students, and basically it's the same initial use case for the same initial sequence that I created at the start when I was going through all the different use cases you could use this for. But this is a vaccination form. The audience 1 is for athlete students, and the result is not vaccinated. So we're looking at students that are not vaccinated, and we're sending them a direct response with clear next steps that, hey, please book an appointment to get vaccinated. Please resubmit your vaccination form, and any other information so that students can participate in student-related activities again. So you can also use this as forms. Right now, our forms are very specific to contact trace-related activities. So you can use this for testing, self-reporting, pre-screening, and vaccination-based forms. And that is an overview of our workflows feature that we'll be releasing at the end of day today or Monday early in the day. Any questions about this before I go into some of the things we're going to be looking at doing and improving this in the future?
Question came in here, Altamash. We noticed the run button only shows up for the manual trigger. Is it safe to say that you can't manually trigger the scheduled or form completion ones?
No, those are, so once you schedule something, you've already created the sequence. You've already decided what time you want the sequence to run at. So for example, in this case, we want chapel service to be every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, starting August 9th. So we don't have to manually run it. It's automatically going to run. Same thing with vaccination. Once a student completes the vaccination form and they have not passed the vaccination form and they've gotten the not vaccinated status, that's when the sequence is going to run. So you don't have to manually do it. Manually is just something we've supported where you can create your own sequences that are, students asking questions, and you can just run them instead of, for example, having to type the same post again to students in the specific channel.
Makes sense. And if you did want to run a scheduled one manually, you could just create it as a manual sequence, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Another question came up from Debbie. How do you end a scheduled notification currently?
Schedule notification. Yeah. So as I mentioned, right now, how you would need to end a scheduled one would be to deactivate it. But so once you've deactivated it, it is no longer active. But as I mentioned at the when I was going over this, what we're looking to add right now within the coming 4 weeks or so is we're going to add support for end date. Right now we have, it's going to start on August 9th, but there's no time on when it should end. We will be adding this, in the coming 3 or 4 weeks, that you can actually decide when you want to end these as well. So this is something where it's a feature we're actively going to be improving and making enhancements to.
Nice. Another question came around the scheduled, for example, if a month has 31 days, right, and you've scheduled it for something that would land on the 31st, or if it doesn't have 30 days, could you describe a little bit around how that matching works?
Yeah, so if you've scheduled, let's say something on the every month, and the month is, let's say 31st, and let's say the next month is September and it's 30th, it's not going to repeat. It needs to be on the specific day for it to repeat. This is standard behavior across any, scheduling system. So it's not different from what we're doing here. Like if, for example, if you use Google Calendar, it works the same way. So it's standardized behavior on how scheduling system works. So we didn't want to do something very specific and niche. We just wanted to do what's generally supported as a best practice.
Nice. A question came up earlier around workflow access. If they don't see workflows right now, you said it's going to be pushed momentarily, let's say to early next week. At that point, will they see workflows right away, or will they still need to request from their success consultants?
If you are a super admin, meaning, and I'll define what a super admin is. If you have access to all the permissions over here, you will automatically have workflows enabled for you. So we will do that on our end. But if you are not a super admin, someone who is, let's say, a super admin will need to give you access for workflows. So if you have access to everything right now, full access to the entire campus cloud, you will automatically get access to workflows once it's live, and you will see it right below Studio and Manage.
There are no other questions.
Right. Yep. Okay. Perfect. So let me just talk a bit about, what are some of the new things since we're going to be adding to this. So this is, the base layer that we've built, but we're continuously going to be adding and improving on top of this. Some of the things you can expect, that we're pushing really hard to deliver by the end of the year, and I'll walk through some of those, are, for example, so the first thing that we're looking to explore, or not explore, but we're trying really hard to, improve upon, is being able to increase the reach that you have when you communicate with students. So the idea is that we want to be able to deliver information to students, to most of our students. So we know that not all students are on the campus app. So how do we actually get, our administrators who use our platform to increase their reach to the entire student population? So we're working on a feature, and we're actively going to be working on this. It's support for email-based communications using our system. So for example, if you're going to be creating a workflow to students, let's say, just as a reminder, we are send notification around chapel, or it could be reminders for, let's say, key academic dates. That's going to, obviously you want every student to be using the app, but let's say there are students that are not. So what we're going to be adding is support for email communications as well. So you can send those communications via email. So if a student's on the app, they get a push notification on the app, but if they're not on the app, they will get an email communication, and the email communication will obviously have, hey, you might want to join the app and be on the app, because it's there's everything you need will be on the app for you, but it will have the direct communication for the student as well. So that allows us to increase our reach, since every student needs to have an email to 100% reach. Obviously, a lot of students are not reading email, but from a reach standpoint, we've extended our information delivery. So that's one thing we'll be able to do, and one thing we're looking to improve. The other thing we're looking to improve, let me go back a bit, is, yeah. So we have, as you can see over here, what's called add fields. So it's not just about, increasing the reach of your information delivery. It's about also delivering information in a way to students that actually engages them with the content. If you're using text message, it's normally just text. If you're using email, it's text and links, and then it's other click-throughs to, for example, if they want to have access to files and so on and so forth. With the campus app, we can do a lot more. We have our administrators that create tiles, that create events, that create services, and all this engaging content for students. But how do we deliver it to students directly to them in a timely manner? And that's what we're calling content preview. So what we want to, you can see over here, add fields like username and form name. What we're expecting is, when you're creating a workflow for students, you can, let's say it's again a scheduled, let's say it's a key academic dates, and it's a from our mental health services that are sending it to students that is around midterm time. So it's like a scheduled sequence that's been created that happens around midterm and happens, let's say, 2 days on Monday and Friday during the right before the midterm period that students have. And it's not just, we can write a text, but it's not just about text, but you'll also be able to embed directly in the text a preview of a resource or a content from the system. And that's one of the features we're building. You can see in our coming up resources, where you'll be able to build using rich text resources from the ground up for students around mental health related content. So you can directly link it to the student, post it in the community. And if you post it in the community, student will see a preview of it, and they click it, they will be directly taken to that resource point. So students don't have to go through tiles, multiple clicks to get information. It's directly available to them. Or you can send it as a push notification, student clicks it, directly gets taken to the resource as well. The third piece is we're looking to extend this not just to in-app users, but how do we take it for students that aren't on the app as well, obviously. So information delivery, if we're extending our reach, we also want to extend the engagement of that reach across email as well. So for example, we have a form system that is very closely tied to contact trace right now. We're looking to turn it into a more generalized form system that you can use it for various other use cases. And we already have support for the web version of that. So if you're not, let's say you're not using the app, you can use the web form and you can complete the form. So for example, if you're a mental health counselor and you want to have patient intake forms, for example, so you can have, you can create those forms, you can share them with students on the app, and they'll have a preview around this, or using email and they'll have a preview. And across both, students now have rich content that they can engage with. They'll click on the form and they'll get taken to the form itself, and they can fill out the information. And on the Campus Cloud, you're managing across, students that aren't on the app, they're on the app using the same system. And so those are 3 areas that we're improving upon. And the last area is, it's a really big thing that we hear is around, email alerts for administrators. So as we build out this email capability that I mentioned, so it's not just about, students getting information, but it's about sending alerts to administrators. So let's say I have that patient intake form. I can create a student's, I'll just use this as an example. Vaccination form, audience 1, not vaccinated. Instead of, responding to the student, I can just, send an email alert out to, email alert out to a set of administrators who manage students, health contact trace and health related workflows. Or I can have, again, a patient intake form for mental health counselors where students fill out the information, and I can set up a action that says, hey, send this patient intake form directly to the administrator, and the administrator is created as an audience, and it goes to the administrator. So it's unlocking all these different types of use cases for administrators, students, in terms of delivering information, and in terms of also expanding on the engagement of that information as well. So these are some of the areas that we're pushing really hard to improve upon, not just in workflows, but a lot of these new features will be available in other parts of the platform as well. And you can see our coming up section for more details around this. And yeah, that's it for workflows, Dimitri. Do you want to share your screen, or do you want me? Dan has a question. Altamash, did I hear you say you can insert a link in this message directly to a form? Yeah, so Dan, that's something that's not available right now. That's something as I said, we're calling it content preview, and we're going to start working on it in Q4, but yes, you will be able to do that. And we can do parts of that right now. For example, a student has completed this form. We have what's called add fields. So it's basically, if you're familiar with using other marketing tools or email-based tools, like you have a username, and if you save this, it will automatically pull the username. If you have the form name, it will automatically pull the form name. So we're doing the same thing with other fields, which will be, hey, let me add it's an extension of the form name, but we'll have the form itself in a more preview where students will be able to click it and directly go to the part of the app where they can fill the form out. So it won't be text, but it's showing you a preview of the information, clicking it and taking you to that information directly. But yeah, that's what I said that we will be doing. Yeah. Right. Dimitri, is Dimitri here? Elizabeth?
Yep.
Or okay, Dimitri, do you want to share your screen? Oop. Hey, Dimitri, are you with us?
Hey, Altamash, yeah, I've been showing a little bit of.
Right, I'll drive it, it's fine. Yeah, so after workflows, let's continue to contact trace API. So we've extended our API to support contact trace related features. Now you can use the Ready platform to pull data into our system and pull data out of our system related to contact trace plus entitlements. This includes forms, QR codes, cases, exposure notifications, and the health dashboard as well. So let's take a quick look at that. In order to access this feature, you will have to go to campus settings, and you will see API management. If you have purchased the contact trace plus entitlement, or if you have, this is also available for other APIs that we have as well. If you have not, and if you don't see this here, please reach out to your campus success consultant. They will grant you the access and permissions so that you can see this as well. But basically, you would go to API management, you would create a new API key, and you will see the list of new sections that we've added here. If you're familiar with this, we already have support for push, and push based on our user, campus experience, and audience granularity. And now we've added support for health and wellness, so you can have forms, QR code, cases, exposure notification, and the health dashboard. Forms will allow you to pull form responses data out of our system. So you can pull all the data, form results data out of our systems and put it in your other systems as you please. QR code allows our partners to be able to create new locations in our system, export locations from our system, and also export all assessment data from our system as well. So all the QR code scanning and tracking data that there is, you can pull it out of our systems for Contact Trace Plus. Cases allows customers to add new cases into our system. It also allows you to be able to take or export case data and case history data out of our system as well. Exposure notification allows you to export and pull data related to all our exposure notifications and announcements related to contact trace out of our system. And health and wellness allows you to pull our form completion and our case status-based data out of our system. So how do you learn more about this and get information about this? You will see on the feature itself a information tooltip where you can read the details, and you will have a link to our help center. Our help center explains all the details around using the feature and how you can, what you can do with it. It also has a link to, you will also find a link to our API documentation for developers who will be building these APIs from your side. So it will link you out to here, and you can see all the information that you need. So if you're, using our API for forms, you can see list of forms data and all the information here, response data, so on and so forth. You can get all the information that you need here. And obviously our support team is always there to provide help and answer any questions that you may have. Any questions around the contact trace API? Right, perfect. That was it for contact trace API. I'll open it up for questions if anyone has any questions.
Would the API work similarly to the other API endpoints that potentially folks have already been using, such as the user access token to access the API endpoints?
Yeah, it works the same as all our other APIs. Yep.
Perfect.
Right, I'll give it another minute for questions. If nobody has any more questions, we can drop off. One thing I'll quickly show, so customers are aware. You can come over here to this section and look at our what's new. And you can go on this section over here that's called coming up. And this is where I mentioned you can review and learn more about what's upcoming in the future with workflows, contact trace API that we just went over right now, what's upcoming with email notifications, multi-audience support, resources, being able to create rich content such as the ones highlighted in the images here. So you'll be able to create content like this, and it walks through basically the steps and things you can do. Also community alerts, which was a large ask or a big request from our customers, and what's upcoming in Q4s. And one of the items I mentioned around content preview, where you'll be able to show previews and redirect users to other pieces of content through the community or push notifications directly that are within the app. Sorry, yeah.
Another question came in here, Altamash. I think based on what we said previously, the question was, if that's the case, does that mean that we need to send the API request directly from within the app? The answer to that is no. You can send requests to the API from anywhere. You just need to do it with an access token that you get from the campus cloud. But you can send them from anywhere. They don't have to be from within the app. I don't see any other questions just yet, Altamash.
Yeah, if there's no other questions, we can, give people 14 minutes of their time back.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. We really appreciate everybody's time. We look forward to seeing you again on our next training next month. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to the various places you normally reach out to, such as support or your CSCs. And if you're actively activating or launching, you can also reach out to your activation managers. It's great to see everybody. Thank you very much. Great. Have a great day.
Thanks.